Okay, we're continuing with the Holy Grail of Wisdom quotes by me, Pete Rogers, doing Ayn Rand. We're on part 3 of quotes from Ayn Rand. She said that she is an objective writer. She described her style as romantic realism. She says it shows real reason, a character, a heroic man using his own volition, his own decision making to navigate a complex, difficult world. She says she can't stand, she hates naturalism. Naturalism in writing she describes as being the equivalent of modern art, a piece of crap, trivia, whereby the characters have no choice in their outcome. Just things happen to them randomly by fate. And essentially, she says these books are meaningless, and I would agree. She says it's meaningless to write a book about some low-life scumbag, drug addict, or alcoholic or something. You know, what good is that? You know, she says you should write about a heroic man, something that people can aspire to. She also said she was in disagreement with all the existing philosophies, so she had to invent her own philosophy. And it would be one where an ideal man could be himself. And she wanted to show the world what this meant, who he was and ought to be. Okay? And so one of the things I think is interesting is she's the greatest female philosopher who ever lived, by far the most influential female philosopher who ever lived. But just to give you a sense of how things work, the philosophers in the universities, they refused to acknowledge her. They refused to study her. Some even said she is a non-person. She is not worth studying. Meanwhile, she's the smartest of them all and the best one of them all. And she didn't publish in their channels, in their journals or whatever. She's like, screw you guys. I can publish to the rest of the world, you know, through my books, and that's what I'm going to do. So I think that's an important point. I can tell you myself, when I tried to publish articles about the spine, for example, I have the best theory in the world for spinal degeneration. The journals won't publish it. They won't publish my ideas about the temporal bone. They won't publish my ideas about the brain. So I'm just like, well, screw you guys. I'll just go to the internet. I'll just write books on my own. But what I'm trying to tell you, that's how it is. There is a convention that unless you're selling drugs or surgery, surgical devices, you can go F yourself. We're not interested. Because the journals get a lot of advertising money. And they don't want to publish stuff that goes against the interests of their advertisers. So no one cares about patients. Patients are a bunch of peasants, poor people. No one cares about them. I can assure you, I've been a doctor, over 35 years, about 35 years. No one cares about patients. The higher you go up in the hierarchy, the more the patients are scum, filth, peasant, the scum of the earth, okay? The people at the lower levels, they love you, you know, the clerks, the techs, okay? And then doctors are kind of intermediate. They want to help the patients, but they got to answer to the big money. And the big money says, get your freaking work done as fast as you can and make us some money, okay? So every doctor in the entire Western world has some bean counter on their ass telling them, go faster. So there's no escape from that, okay? And the reason you need to know that is that's how it works, because I see a lot of people waiting around for somebody to save them, and I got news for you. Nobody's coming to save you. You better learn how to save yourself. Okay, so I like that she invented her own philosophy. Good, to make it better. She said the number one philosophical influence on her was Aristotle. She said Aristotle had by far the best influence on her. She said if you want to study philosophy, she said you should study the 3 A's. And by the 3 A's, she meant number 1, Aristotle. Number 2, Aquinas, St. Thomas Aquinas. Number 3, Ayn, herself, Ayn Rand. Okay? And I'm kind of laughing because I didn't even know that she had said that quote. Okay, I read about that recently, but I said to myself, that's funny because I would, number 1, describe myself as the modern Aristotle, and I would also, number 2, describe myself as the modern Thomas Aquinas. So I'm laughing that I have a tremendous amount in common with Ayn Rand, okay? But what's funny is I actually think I have a better understanding of human nature and behavior and what can make things better because I include Christianity. She wouldn't do it. She loves all the Christian writers, but she won't say she loves Christianity. Basically, I think when you get right down to it, I think she thought Christ was a pussy for letting himself be crucified. But I think you need Christ to have that moral foundation. You need Genesis of the Bible to have a moral foundation that man is created in the image of God, therefore part of the divine. You can't reason your way to it because no dictator, no thug dictator ruler is ever going to accept it unless all the people are in agreement. We are created in the image of God, therefore the individual deserves property rights. She knows individual rights are where it's at, but she can't come down with the God-based thing. And she doesn't know biology. If you know biology and biochemistry, it's like you believe in God. It's just so over the top incredible, beyond anything that could have happened by chance. It's beyond anything that the smartest, you get the 1,000 smartest humans in the world, give them, $100 billion. They can't do the things that happen inside a cell. Okay, she says tyrannical states tend to destroy the best people. Yeah, and there's a reason for that. The smartest people are going to be the most nonconformist because they know what a joke all the conventional stuff is, okay? It's like you get a doctor with an IQ of 120. They're just going to follow the protocol. They're never going to think anything through for themselves. But you start getting the smarter ones, IQs up over 150, 160, 170, that ballpark. It's obvious. It's a joke. The whole definition and treatment of hypertension in conventional medicine, as well as coronary artery disease, atherosclerosis, autoimmune disease, cancer, and a whole bunch of other diseases, it's just nonsense. It's silliness. It's childish. Okay, so those are the kind of people they would get in Soviet Union. They would get bumped off for saying those things. Okay, so that's what I'm saying is your best scientists, your best doctors, your best writers, your best composers, they're all going to just get bumped off, thrown in the gulag by a Soviet regime. So those societies are terrible. She continues, the purpose of all art is the objectivization of values, a concretization of metaphysics of one's values. Basically, taking your values and making them concrete in your art, in your painting, in your sculpture, in your book. To get the subconscious to work well for a writer, he needs to give it a clear, non-contradictory orders. Yeah, and I also think that's part of making yourself efficient. You have to agree in your conscious mind and your subconscious what you want to do. What is your number one goal? How are you going to focus your energy? To write your best potential, you must know why you do things. This aligns the conscious and the subconscious mind. A saga is just a sequence of events, but a plot is different. A plot is characteristic of a romantic realist novel, her style, a purposeful progression of events. In a naturalistic novel, you do not have a real plot because the characters lack volition. So there's just a series of somewhat random, disconnected events, and the character is a victim of fate. Ulysses is not even a novel. It's not even written in English. Not in my words here, it stinks. Okay. Ulysses by James Joyce. Even though he's an Irish writer, and I like Irish writers in general, Ulysses, I'm sorry, it stinks. And I tried reading it, and it's just painful. James Joyce, in my opinion, had potential, but he just lost it and became an alcoholic scumbag. Okay, saga preceded the novel and is just a recording of events like the Iliad and the Odyssey, but that is not a novel. A memoir is often written as a saga. Gone with the Wind is a great novel. It has a great plot. Ashley is the Old South. Rhett Butler is the New South. Yeah, Gone with the Wind is one of the greatest novels of all time, and the movie is one of the greatest movies of all time. Watch it, see it. You will be amazed at what you learn from that. I was amazed how good it was. Okay, Ayn Rand from The Virtue of Selfishness. Since everything man needs has to be discovered by his own mind and produced by his own effort, the two essentials of methods for survival proper to a rational being are thinking and productive work. Man chooses his values by a conscious process of thought, or he accepts them by default, by subconscious association. One must never fail to pronounce moral judgments. Okay, she says, to build a free society, you need property rights, individual rights, and freedom of speech in capitalism. Yeah, basically you need capitalism and the Constitution, and actually you also need Christianity, Christian ethics. You don't have to be a Christian, but you have to have a Christian ethics in society. Man's created in the image of God, therefore part divine, therefore you should not abuse him, okay? That what you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. You need to have that. Otherwise the ruler just says, you're all a bunch of farm animals, I own your ass, do as I say. Okay, and no, I don't want you doing anything new. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, socialism is the denial of property rights and thus of freedom. Socialism causes economic collapse in every country that tries it. Yeah, it always does. Look what's happening to Europe now. Capitalism basically rewards you for effort and productivity. So it creates incentive to be nice to each other, to help each other, to do something useful. That's good. To deny property rights is to turn men into property. Those who advocate laissez-faire capitalism are the only real advocates of man's rights, of individual rights. The argument from intimidation is a confession of intellectual impotence. Yeah, when somebody says, do what I say or I'll kick your butt. Okay. Or they just start calling you names, ad hominem. That's a sign that they've got nothing to back up their comments. Okay. That's like Bart K on nutrition. He doesn't know anything useful, so he just insults people. Okay, Ayn Rand. They have no reason, no ground to stand on. Their noisy aggressiveness serves to hide a vacuum. That's the paleo-keto carnivore. So they always say, you're a jerk, you're a scumbag if you don't agree with what they say, because there's no data to support paleo-keto carnivore diets. Okay, Ayn Rand says, don't ever give up what you want to be. It is worth it to pursue it. I like that. I like it. Her attitude is go for it. Okay, she came from people starving in Soviet Russia to America, where she sees these giant skyscrapers in New York, and she's like, holy crap, what a great country. Thank God I'm here. What an opportunity. Okay. She said, I knew only that this is what life should be. You should try to live up to your exalted vision of yourself. The good can be achieved. It is real. It is possible. It is yours. I like that too. She encourages you, go for it. Live your life to the max. So she does a lot of good things. Okay, next quote from Ayn Rand. So long as there is no censorship, there's a chance for persuasion to succeed. Yeah, censorship's a big deal, because with censorship, the truth gets hidden. And right now, there's a lot of censorship. What you see in censorship nowadays is that the truth is allowed on the internet, at least some of it is, but it's hidden. For example, my YouTube channel is totally shadow banned. You take somebody like Andrew Huberman, who's like a Mickey Mouse kindergartner compared to me intellectually for neuroscience, okay? He's reading out of a junior undergraduate neuroscience textbook, okay? And he's the big neuroscience expert on the internet because he sells all kinds of things. So the corporations love him. He's got millions of subscribers. He's all over the internet, okay? He's got 5 girlfriends, all right? Okay, and then somebody like me, my level of neuroscience, neurology, neurologic disease understanding, neurotoxicology is way beyond a double fellowship, triple boarded neurologist, okay? Yet I only get like 100, 200 views per video. I'm shadow banned. I'm kept secret. All my books are shadow banned. Hardly anybody knows they even exist. That's what happens when you tell the truth, okay? And who knows if I'll get deleted in the near future. Nobody knows, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, at least I'm allowed to exist and to speak, but I'm just kept silent in the corner, They probably have somebody watching my videos to see if they learn anything interesting, steal my ideas, but they're not going to let me become popular, okay? It's just how it is, okay? And you got all these popular health and nutrition influencers that are half retarded, or they're lying their butts off to sell stuff, okay? Anyways, all right, let us continue. So Ayn Rand says, so long as there is no censorship, there's a chance for persuasion to succeed. True scientists are essentially loners. They pursue knowledge for the sake of knowledge. A scientist who discovers knowledge and shares it to benefit others is the greatest benefactor of mankind. Such men should be considered heroes, but such men are not regarded as heroes. They are the most hated, blamed, denounced men in so-called humanitarian societies. That is true. Anyways, that's it for this session. Hope you found it helpful.